अगले चंद लम्हात के लिए मैं सैयद हसन गिलानी आपका मेज़बान रहूँगा। लाहौर साइंस मेला बमुकाम डिविजनल पब्लिक स्कूल में तकरीबात का सिलसिला वक्तन फ़वक्तन जारी है। इसी कड़ी की अगली तकरीब जिसमें हमारे स्पीकर डॉक्टर अहमद शिबली जो हमारे दरमियान मौजूद हैं, आप रावलपिंडी के एक छोटे से देहात से तालीम हासिल करना शुरू की और फिर तालीम के मैदान में आसमान की बुलंदियों को छूते गए। आपने पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश और यूनाइटेड किंगडम से तालीम हासिल की। आप बुनियादी तौर पर एक मटीरियल साइंटिस्ट हैं और इसके साथ साथ आप यूरोपियन टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलपमेंट के फाउंडर भी हैं। तो आज की हमारी टॉक जिसका टॉपिक है न्यूक्लियर वॉर वेयर एवरीवन इज़ अ लूज़र। जौहरी जंग का नाम सुनते ही इंसान के जहन में तबाही और बर्बादी का तस्वुर आता है। जंग एक तरफ तो अमारतों और इंसानी जानों के ज़िया का नाम है, लेकिन इसके दूरस्थ असरात जो देखे गए वो माहौल और हमारी सेहत पर हैं। ये कैंसर जैसी वबाल बीमारियों का सबब बनती है और इसके साथ साथ हाल ही में पाकिस्तान में आने वाले बदतरीन सैलाब में इसका बहुत बड़ा किरदार है। इंसान ने बनाया तो ये हथियार अपनी हिफाजत के लिए था, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं ये हमारी तबाही और बर्बादी का हथियार ही है। तो इस पर एक डिटेल टॉक जो कि डॉक्टर अहमद शिबली साहब करेंगे और अब विजिट टू हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी। 1945 में हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी पर लिटिल बॉय का बॉम्ब गिराया गया तो हर तरफ दूरों सैकड़ों मील या 20 से 25 मील उसके असरात देखे गए और इसके ऊपर मैं दावत सुखन दूंगा डॉक्टर अहमद शिबली को।
Thank you very much for your very nice introduction. Assalamu alaikum. And I'm actually yesterday I gave a talk on human development for the last 4 million years or so, how we started the whole thing. The process started very slowly. It took us about 2.5 million years to go from nothing to Stone Age, and then very long time to go to Bronze Age, and then to Iron Steel Age. And then now we have started moving very fast, as we all know. So अब जो है ये हमने वैक्सीन डेवलप कर ली है, कोविड की वैक्सीन विदिन 6 मंथ। जो पहले उसमें 10 साल लग जाते थे। 20 years ago हमारे पास ना यूट्यूब थी, ना ट्विटर था और ना फेसबुक था। So we really started working moving very fast. हमारे पहले स्पीकर ने I think he said that one of the great qualities about human beings is to get together and to collaborate, which is absolutely excellent, and that brings a lot of benefits to humankind. लेकिन उसके साथ जो है unfortunately is another bad human habit, maybe part of survival, part of domination, that we want to dominate each other. So we want to become very powerful so that we can dominate the weak, and that leads to all type of wars and devastation. And the worst of all the wars will be nuclear wars. So मेरी जो talk है ये political नहीं है. I just want to show facts and figures. What I have learned at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I give these talks in the UK as well. It's not just for Pakistan and in India as well. Just to make general population aware, and even the politicians aware of what is at stake if we take some wrong steps. So in this talk, I will show pictures of horrors of nuclear war. I'm not going to show any human burning bodies or burning skins. I think that's a bit too gory. बहुत ज़्यादा बच्चे भी बैठे हुए हैं. That's not very good. But I'll show you the buildings and various other things. And can you imagine when these were baby bombs compared to what we have today? The temperature in the center of where the bomb was dropped, ground zero, was 4,000 degrees centigrade. steel melts at about 1200 degrees centigrade. Water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. And can you imagine what happens at ground zero when a bomb is dropped at 4000 degrees centigrade? All the humans which are there, around there up to 1 mile, and that bomb, which Americans had called, I think they called it little boy, and now they are obviously they're big boys. So that one, basically, everybody evaporated within 1 mile, and the damage spread very far. The roof slates and the stones and even the marbles of structures basically melted. I'll show you some pictures. So the first bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. It's a beautiful city. I've been there a few times in connection with my scientific work. The first bomb was dropped in August 6, 1945. B-92 bombers were used both for Hiroshima and for Nagasaki. And the plane we dropped was called Enola A. The population was 380,000, nearly 4 lakh की population थी. Hiroshima की Nagasaki population is county, and the bomb was cynically named Little Boy, which is I think quite a horrible thing itself, you know. But this is how I think you become powerful and arrogant. This is how you behave. I'm not trying to. It's a trend in Pakistan to blame black. That's human nature. We all do that. In Pakistan become very powerful. Hopefully not, but you know, we tend to do similar things to the weaker nations. So you can see mushroom cloud after the atomic bomb exploded. Both the bombs were dropped early in the morning when people were still at home. Our children had gone to schools and so on. So the plane in Enola Gate, the pilot who dropped the bomb, his name was Tibbet. And Tibbet basically, he was horrified himself when he dropped the bomb. There was a giant purple mushroom that had already risen to a height of 45,000 feet. That's about 8 miles or 9 miles. Normally the planes these days when you fly on international flights, they fly at about 40,000 feet. And by that time, when the mushroom really rose, the plane we dropped the bomb was far away. But look what Tibbet is saying. He's saying, even from a distance, the sight on the ground below was absolutely fearsome. The base of the cloud, fires were springing up everywhere amid a turbulent mass of smoke that had the appearance of bubbling hot water or tar. The city we had seen so clearly in the sunlight a few minutes before was now an ugly smudge. It had completely disappeared under this awful blanket of smoke and fire. The bomb fell almost 6 miles in less than 1 minute. It exploded with a force of 1.5 kilotons or 15,000 tons. And bombs which are made today, they could be about 20 kilotons or even more than that, so they are much more powerful. And only 2% of the bombs uranium achieved fission because at that time they were not very efficient. And in spite of the fact that only 2% of the fission was achieved, you can still see the devastation. Now, there are different viewpoints which are propagated. The West has a different viewpoint why the bombs were dropped. Japan has a different viewpoint why the bombs were dropped. And I think I tend to believe Japanese version a bit more, and I'll tell you why. But this is the American viewpoint. So they're basically saying that Germany has surrendered in 1945 and Japan was not prepared to surrender. And that is why they dropped the bomb. Obviously, the question was, if they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, then why drop the second bomb after 3 days on Nagasaki? There were various other sort of questions as well, and that's why I said I think Japanese version is more trustworthy. Although most of the people in this country and many other countries, because Western media and American media's dominance, will probably read only the American version rather than Japanese version. There were 3 cities which had been spared during the Second World War for nuclear bombing. That was Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and another city called Kakura, which was a military base of the Japanese army in north of the beautiful island of Kyushu. Those 3 cities, the whole of Japan was bombed. Many cities were bombed, including Tokyo. Thousands of people had died, but those 3 cities were not bombed during the Second World War. And the reason for that was because Americans wanted to know the effect of the nuclear bomb and the nuclear war. They didn't want to mix up the effect of the other bombing before that with the nuclear bomb. So these 3 cities were basically kept in reserve for the nuclear war. So that's the alternative viewpoint, which you will see Hiroshima and Nagasaki to go to the museums, and the parks there. The whole cities are actually museums, not just they have dedicated museums, but in all the parks and everywhere there are all kinds of monuments for the nuclear devastation that took place. And the other reason was that there was the USA had basically spent billions of dollars in developing nuclear bombs through a project called Manhattan Project. If they hadn't dropped the bomb, Eisenhower was worried that there will be public reaction that we have spent billions of dollars to what effect? We are not going to use the bomb. So there was a political pressure especially from the right wing of the American politicians to drop the bomb. And that's why I was saying that that's a more believable version. Especially when the 3 cities, they were not touched during the rest of the war, and they were spared for the nuclear bomb. You can see the stones there at the bottom. This is Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The stones are basically fused together with the melting, so the temperature and devastation was so high. In Hiroshima, absolutely everything was destroyed within 1 mile, except some of the buildings, because as you know, in Japan there are a lot of earthquakes. So they built buildings, especially strengthened buildings, to protect against earthquakes. So a few buildings survived, which had been specially built as shelters for the earthquake, for the occurrence of the earthquakes, big earthquakes. And Japan sees small earthquakes every day, more or less. So they are very used to earthquakes. But bigger earthquakes, they bring in a lot of devastation. So you can see what happened in Hiroshima. As I said, only a few buildings at a distance that you can see which survived. That's a municipal or local government building which has been specially strengthened for earthquakes or reasons. So that building survived, but all the doors, windows, everything was blown in. So basically, devastation was complete of the city of Hiroshima. You can see that building is survived, but there are no windows, no doors, and the dome has evaporated as well. These are the fighters of trucks, as you can see. So there will be no emergency services. There were no emergency services in that particular case. Everything is destroyed. Dispensaries, hospitals, doctors, everything is gone, including the government officials. This is so they have big, huge museums. Hiroshima That's Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. That's one of my colleagues. We were together for work there, Dr. David Robertson, and I took the photograph. So you can see that. Then, as I was saying, that they have made peace memorials everywhere. Actually, a lot of peace memorials were gifted to Hiroshima and Nagasaki by foreign countries. And they were mainly countries of Eastern Europe, Latin America, and Asia. Unfortunately, I didn't see any really peace memorials of gifts or monuments from the Western countries, which is unfortunate. So this guy is pointing to the sky and asking for peace, praying for peace. You can see every park and every place in Hiroshima and Nagasaki is about the nuclear war. You can see that all the people were illustrated side. This again in Hiroshima, dogs and people praying for peace. These are all the monuments there. Then what happened in Nagasaki? It was bombed 3 days after Hiroshima. Actually, the plane which was going to bomb Nagasaki, it wasn't aiming for Nagasaki. It was aiming for a city called Kokura. Which is north of Nagasaki. But fortunately for the people of Kokura, it was a thick, heavy clouds. So the plane had to come back. They couldn't bomb Kokura. And on his way back, he found Nagasaki, the third alternative, which had a beautiful, nice weather for the bad luck of Nagasaki. They dropped the bomb a bit later than Hiroshima, which was about 9 o'clock. This was 2 hours after that. And this particular bomb was a bit bigger. It was called Fat Man. That's, again, similar thing happened to Nagasaki. Now in Nagasaki, it's a valley. So because it's a valley, there wasn't much of a wind. So actually, the radiation stayed there for much longer and did much more damage. The population of Nagasaki is much smaller, but 1/3 of Hiroshima. You can see this after the devastation. People they've lost their families, they've lost everybody, everything that they possess. So devastation was so bad that people actually thought that those who had evaporated instantly, they were lucky ones. Because others basically, their skins were burning, there were no hospitals, there was nothing around, and people were everywhere on fire. Especially the children who came back from school, those who had survived, their skins had burned, they were not even difficult to recognize them. So things were pretty bad. So the two bombings came between 129,000, एक लाख से ज़्यादा लोग हैं, and 226,000 तकरीबन 2 लाख के just within the few moments. Basically, 250,000 people. Most of them were civilians. So the idea of the Americans was to basically frighten the population so much and the country so much that Japan surrenders without any conditions. Before this, Japan was prepared to surrender, but they had some particular conditions, for their survival, if you like. Now, as I said before, that was only 1.5 kilometer TNT that, kilotons, and that was particular bombs. The new bombs could be 100 kilotons, so many times more. I said 10 to 15 times, but certainly maybe 100 times more powerful than those. So if there's a war, for example, between Russia and USA, about 360 million people will die. I think the US's population is about 320 million, so more than the US's population, if you like, So this is the kind of the building which had survived. Nagasaki, this was the municipal committee statistics. But we move on. So I'm coming near the end of the talk, but I think the question is, can humanity survive in modern large-scale nuclear war? More importantly, perhaps, can the people of the region that experience the nuclear war, can they survive? And those who survive a nuclear attack will face famine and contaminated water that will make sure that they don't survive for long. जो न्यूक्लियर वॉर से बच भी जाएंगे दूसरे सिटीज़ में आगे इतनी रेडिएशन होगी कि सारी क्रॉप्स सारी vegetables, everything will be radiated, all the cows, the chickens, whatever you eat, they will be all absolutely radiated, and they will cause, they will become carcinogenic, they will cause cancer. The fires are big, as you know, these days we have seen fires in California and in Australia and other places, especially in these days when the weather is becoming quite hot and trees are getting drier and grass is getting drier, the fires can spread and they can go from one city to another city and so on. It also depends on the prevailing wind. So if the wind is blowing in the direction of another city, then you'll have the devastation. Devastation also depends on what type of bomb is dropped, from what sort of height it is dropped, and so on. So it's very difficult for anybody to do the actual calculations how many people will die. But it is basically, I think some of the calculations have shown that 1,000 kiloton nuclear blast might produce third-degree burns up to 5 miles away, second-degree burns up to 6 miles away, and first-degree burns up to 7 miles away. These are only calculations. It could be much more, maybe even less, but the radiation will last for a long time. And the blindness, the temporary blindness will go up to 3 miles. Actually, have you learned any lessons? I think that's what I was talking about yesterday. Sorry. Do you learn any lessons from the science museums? Probably not. I don't know how many of you know, but the US used depleted uranium bombs in Fallujah in Iraq, and even many years after that, even today, the children were born with deformed limbs, and the cancer rate is far higher in Fallujah than any other, either the city or in the region in the Middle East, either in the country or the region in the Middle East. So things are still going on, and those were depleted uranium bombs which are used in Fallujah. So really my concluding slide is, this talk was just to create awareness in the general message about the dangers of nuclear war and not to take it lightly. It applies to all the nuclear powers. It's not a political talk, but just to know what has happened and what can happen. So for example, if God forbid a bomb attack on Lahore can equally damage Amritsar, so India can't be very happy about dropping a nuclear bomb here because it will destroy some of its own cities as well, or at least it will cause a lot of radiation and cancer in those cities, and vice versa. So I think it's just really creating a general awareness, and I hope it has been useful to understand what devastation could occur. It's not a light thing. It has to be taken very, very seriously. It concerns our generation, next generations, our children, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this awareness session जो कि हमारे यहाँ पे भी much needed है. लेकिन after this session I was just thinking कि ये audacity अमेरिका ने 1945 में की और आज भी वो सुपर पावर बनकर अपने वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर के मुताबिक दुनिया को चला रहे हैं. As a humanity, as human beings हम इतने कमजोर हो गए हैं कि हमने उसको ना सिर्फ काउंट नहीं किया, मतलब he is concerned about कि पाकिस्तान के न्यूक्लियर वेपन सेफ हैंड में नहीं है, but it at least the one जिसने न्यूक्लियर वेपन्स को यूज किया है. तो कोई कंट्री स्टेट लेवल पर या किसी भी चीज़ पर हम उसको क्यों नहीं काउंटर कर सकते, उसको क्यों नहीं काउंट कर सकते, क्वेश्चन कर सकते, because it is the one he is responsible for all that you have shown us. And definitely it's not the masses जो चाहते हैं कि इस लेवल पर एक कंट्री से पॉलिटिक्स होती है जो इंसानियत को इस हद तक तबाह कर देती है.
सर ये एक्चुअली इस रूम का इक्विस्टिक सिस्टम ऐसा है कि यहाँ पर आवाज़ नहीं आती है. नो अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई द प्रीवियस स्पीकर हैड अ प्रॉब्लम इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग द क्वेश्चन. तो मे बी इफ यू कैन ट्रांसलेट. अच्छा एक सेकंड में सर ये पॉलिटिकल क्वेश्चन है. आई डोंट वांट टू गेट इन पॉलिटिकल कंट्रोवर्सी, लेकिन जनरली मैं आपको सवाल का जवाब भी देता हूँ कि आज जो है स्वीडन विच इज़ ओनली अबाउट 5 मिलियन पीपल, यू नो, दे हैव गॉट मोर बुक्स देन द होल ऑफ मिडिल ईस्ट पुट टुगेदर. So that's what the Science Mela is about. It's a question of knowledge, power and your scientific endeavor and development. अगर आप लोग जो है ना आपस में लड़ते रहेंगे, आपस में फिरकाबाजी करेंगे, एक दूसरे को मारते रहेंगे, यू नो, आज ब्रिटेन में हिंदू प्राइम मिनिस्टर है, एक मुस्लिम जो है बिगेस्ट सिटी यूरोप लंदन, उसका मेयर जो है मुस्लिम है, एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ, यू नो. तो आप लोग जब तक इसे जल्दी ख़त्म करेंगे, यू नॉट डेवलप. माय ओनली व्यू इज यू कांट रियली से कि आप जो है ना बहुत वो है, यू नो, अमेरिका को फेस करेंगे, उसको फेस करेंगे. यू कांट फेस विद पावर, यू हैव टू बी पावरफुल. You have to basically develop yourself. So I don't know. This is what, that's what I said at the start. The human beings are like that. They are competitive. जो powerful हो जाता है, दूसरे को dominate करता है. And you can't change the nature of the humans. I don't. I know. I think political discussion is very long, sir. So I just wanted to show you this will be about what will happen here. Thank you. Thanks.
Sir, in one of the slides it was written that it was already decided that these three cities will be made victim of the nuclear dropping. This is at least first time a shock and revelation to me, at least. I don't know, maybe you or some other people know about it. It means there was no other option explored for surrender, for Japan to make surrender other than the nuclear war, other than the dropping of the nuclear weapons from the very start, number one. Number two, it was also written in one of the slides that the bomb was spared for the aliens. What does that mean, sir? I couldn't follow this point, aliens, dropping on aliens. Thank you.
I think maybe you're right, but you know there's a lot of politics in that. There's a theory that Russia was also trying to come into Japan, and USA wanted to make sure Russia knows that the US has got nuclear bomb, Russia doesn't. And if Russia comes into Japan, what will happen to Russia? So there are a lot of, you know, theories, and it's difficult to prove or disprove those theories. But that is what politics is about, and that's what life is, unfortunately. It shouldn't be like that, and that's why actually we go around creating awareness, not in just Pakistan, but the UK as well, like a few times in India as well, just to make people know, what will happen. And it's the public which has the power, you people can, if everybody knows, and not just in Pakistan, but obviously India as well, because it's a conflict between two countries. Governments become more careful, and even the government officials, they don't always know really. They're not highly educated, especially in our countries here, and if they know this threat as well, what will happen, they might become more careful. I think they are always somewhat careful, but the threats are there. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed Shibli, for your brief talk on the nuclear war, where everyone is a loser. I think so it's a time for the world to understand where we are standing, what we are. हमें ये जानने की ज़रूरत है हम कौन हैं, हमने क्या करना है. हम कहीं अपनी ही बनाई हुई चीज़ों से खुद को तबाह या बर्बाद तो नहीं कर रहे. साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी ये श्योरली हमें श्योर करना चाहिए कि हमें इसे ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट के लिए यूज़ करना है, इंसान की ज़िंदगी में जिद्दत लाने के लिए, ना कि अपनी ही बनाई हुई चीज़ों से खुद को तबाह करते रहें और फिर उसी पे रोते रहें. आई अगेन थैंक यू वेरी मच डॉक्टर अहमद शिबली. मोअज़्ज़ज़ ख़वानीन व हज़रात, इसके बाद हमारा एक म्यूज़िक सेशन राग और साइंस का ताल्लुक़ ये होने जा रहा है, जो कि अभी 5 से 10 मिनट में स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. तो मेरी दरख्वास्त है कि तमाम लोग हॉल में मौजूद रहें और उसके लिए इंतज़ार करें.